Okay, it looks like we are live, so welcome everyone to another town hall. And I think first we wanted to talk about some logistics. I think I did mention this in the past, John, now that I think of it. We had talked about the fact that I'm going to be sort of winding down my involvement in the Enable community, essentially retiring, though I will always be involved, I think, in some way. I just am not going to be able to maintain the level of active involvement that I have had. And so I've already had, I've been lucky enough to have some volunteers that have come forward already, like Jonathan, who might be joining us later, who's taken over a lot of the badge approvals and getting chapters authorized and things like that. Obviously, you and Sarah have always been doing a lot, and there's others who have kind of helped to take over some of the things. And really, one of the only remaining things that I've been still handling as a sort of a primary responsibility is these town hall meetings. And so I wanted to talk today about sort of how we can transition that. And it actually occurred to me, before this meeting, I was looking through, thankfully Zoom takes nice automated notes on meetings now. And so I found my way to the notes from the last education and new members meetup, which I wasn't a part of, but I was looking through the notes and it looked like there was a lot of really good discussion in there. And really a lot of the topics look like things that we maybe in the past would have been covering in these town halls. So my suggestion to you, John, was maybe think about consolidation there.
Mm.
I could see just, one, maybe even a longer meeting, but that's, maybe the first part of it is to get new members oriented, and then maybe the second part is education, and maybe the third part is, what we would normally do in these town halls, doing, review of projects and looking at hub posts. You can decide on the order, but the idea would be to, I think, bring those together into one meeting might make your life easier. So that would be my
I think
suggestion.
that's a great idea, actually, is that we we have rotating themes
Exactly.
rather than rotating once a month meetings.
Yeah.
That would mean that there's a weekly rhythm,
Yeah.
and yet we have focal topics, and the focal topics invite might encourage more people to join
Yeah.
and then take part in whatever deliberations we have. I
Exactly.
That's a great idea. We'll probably do it. I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So we can
But
figure out the
you haven't
details.
quite been explicit. Jeremy, you have been moderating these town hall meetings for, good God, I don't know,
Since
five.
yeah, before the town hall, they used to be called SPC meetings, or a strategic planning committee. And yeah, I'd say it's been, gosh, it's got to be close to 10 years, at least 8 years, I'd say we've been doing these. Yeah. And they've
Okay.
been, I think, more useful at some times than others. We've had better participation sometimes. They've kind of ebbed and flowed like things tend to happen in this community, but hopefully they've been of some use overall. And I think, things are just those same things are still getting done, just sort of happening in different ways now. So it seems like a good time for me to sort of hand that over to you if you're willing, John.
I am willing to, but as Thomas Jefferson said, I am willing to succeed him, referring to George Washington. No one can replace him. So,
Thank you.
uh, yeah, and let me say, Jeremy, it's been an amazing contribution and endure and marathon. We should talk about whether there are because you've also done a huge amount behind the scenes, whether
Right.
there are behind the scenes activities that are not covered.
There
But
are, yeah. We will have to figure some of that out. For example, right now I'm in the middle of trying to figure out how to update the SSL certificate for Enable Web Central since I no longer have developers. I'm trying to figure that out myself. Which I will figure out how to get that done because that SSL certificate is expiring in a couple of weeks. And so there are things like that. I mean, we're still paying for Azure hosting for that Enable Web Central platform because we never got that alternative platform going. So there's a decision to be made there. I think we're leaning more and more on the hub these days for matching,
yes,
just encouraging people to just post a message in the hub to find help. And if you guys feel comfortable continuing in that route, then I think there just needs to come a decision point on a certain, maybe a shutdown date for Enable Web Central.
Okay.
I mean, there are
If
still
you want to
cases
give
in it.
us, I'm happy to talk them through. I'm happy to meet offline with you for that list. But frankly, if you give us a list of issues that you're now washing your hands of, and the pieces of the puzzle we need to pick it up, I think it's a good moment for you to try to walk away clean rather than have these things. We'll still need to ask you questions, and I know you'll always pick up the
Of
phone,
course,
but
of
I'm
course.
inviting you to do your exit interview with some documentation. And
All right, let me see what
frankly,
I can do.
I think what we'll do at a future meeting is figure out who we can hire to do things like SSL certificates, who we need to pay. We have money in the bank. That's part
Right.
of what we have achieved. And so we will now begin to professionalize the now better defined components of our now fairly stable and fairly well-worn infrastructure.
Yeah, sounds good. And of course, MASV is an important part of that as far as the hub is concerned. He actually
You
just
bet.
helped me resolve an issue recently where authentication had, or the new user sign up function had stopped working, and so he fixed that very quick. He was very responsive. So we want to make sure he's part of that conversation. And Jonathan, who just joined us now, we want to make sure he's part of those conversations because he's helping
Right.
with, he's still kind of keeping Enable Web Central going and doing some case moderation. So Jonathan, we won't recap all that, but we were talking about kind of my sort of in progress retirement from my role in Enable and handing things off. I'll invite you to maybe check out the beginning of the recording if you have a chance later. But we talked about maybe consolidating some of these meetings where the town hall might be kind of wrapped in with the new members and education meetings that we've been having. And so John will sort of take the lead on that, but there might be just a more regular, maybe a weekly meeting where we sort of rotate through topics instead of having all these different meetings. And there's some other odds and ends that I need to document so that we can figure out how to get those handed over, which is what John was just saying, and I'll work on getting those documented. But yeah, Jonathan will need to have him plugged into those discussions going forward too.
Good.
Absolutely keep me in the loop on whatever I can help with. So
Absolutely, yeah, and I
I
appreciate
suspect we'll
everything
be
you've
doing a little
done.
bit more than keeping you in the loop, Jonathan. But
Yeah.
uh, the fact that you've been on board and doing such a great job for quite some time now means that it is a good moment for Jeremy
Well, I mean,
to get
honestly,
out alive
you
and
know,
for us to take.
I tried to do this. I don't remember how long ago, over a year ago, I tried to sort of wrap up my role and it just wasn't possible. I kept every time I'd try to hand something over to somebody, they'd do it for a month or two and then they'd, kind of lose interest or move on to something else. And so, Jonathan, really, you're a big part of why we've gotten to this point. So thank you so much for consistently handling the things that you have been. It really is important and we appreciate that. Okay, so anything else on that topic? I think otherwise we can just move on and look at some of the hub posts. I'm going to have to depart in another 20 minutes or so here because I had a scheduling conflict today.
No,
Okay.
let's move on.
All right, so I'll share my screen here.
Before we move on, just for the town halls, it's um, we do have one scheduled on April 18th. Should I cancel it? And also before we like try to get rid of the town halls and absorb them into the themed meetings, should we just go down to once a month town hall instead of twice a month?
No, I don't think first of all, I think we should meet on the 18th. I
Okay.
will be the moderator.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I'll want your help in doing the YouTube recording and all of that. But
Mhm.
again, the fact that you know how to do that routinely is a real achievement. And I Jeremy has suggested that we actually go to weekly town hall meetings, and that will
Well,
create a rhythm. But we'll talk about that at the next meeting.
I mean, it would
okay.
essentially be a weekly e-NABLE meeting. It would
That's
no
right. That's
longer,
right.
So that's what we used to do weekly
That's right.
town hall meetings, and we decided to go down to twice a month just because there wasn't enough attendance and there wasn't enough to,
Right. The difference, Sarah, is I'm suggesting that we consolidate these different meetings together. So these weekly meetings, they wouldn't all be just the town hall. Some of them would be the new member meetup, some of them would be
Right.
education, some of them would be bionic. It's just a matter of having a weekly meeting every week. The topics could be rotated to focus on different
I
things.
mean, we do have that, um, uh, most
No,
weeks.
sir, I don't think you're understanding. The
Okay,
proposal, which we don't have to settle right now,
okay,
is that, let's put it this way, the first Friday of every month would be town hall and bionic. The
yeah,
second Friday of every month would be town hall and education. The third Friday of every month would be town hall and whatever else we have.
okay,
Now, I will, just playing devil's advocate, I can see where maybe this is partly where Sarah's coming from. One challenge might be availability. The people that are key to the education meeting, maybe they don't have availability on Friday at the time that we do these.
yeah,
Maybe
Right.
so you have to kind of check with others. I think you want to keep things. I personally think consistency makes things a lot easier, at
yeah.
least for me.
No, but
But
that is the case that a lot of the moderators are not available at this time. Or
Okay. Well, we don't have to
or
settle it.
even at the same time every month, So a
Okay.
lot of people change the times and days that they're available each month.
Hmm.
So,
Well, we will discuss this in more detail in 2 weeks.
Okay,
okay.
so we'll keep the meeting on the 18th. I will make a best effort to be part of that meeting. You'll take the lead, John, but just so that I can hopefully have some of those things that you requested documented, and I can
Sure.
share those with you in that meeting. So I will try to be here for that one.
Okay. Yeah. So let me be clear, Jeremy. You are always welcome. But
Thank you.
if you want, you do not have to come 2 weeks from now. Uh, you gave us warning over a year ago. If you want to walk away, we're in good shape.
No, no, it's okay. You know how close to my heart e-NABLE is, and
I do. I do.
I want to make sure
So
that
one other issue on this topic is you're retiring from e-NABLE, but meanwhile, 3D Universe has is not going anywhere and
of
is
course not.
still the, if you will, the retail outlet, and that will continue.
Well, at least yeah, I mean, for the kits, that's part of the reason that I'm having to do this now is I have a lot going on the business side. I've just recently bought out my partner, my now ex-wife, and so I hired a new employee to replace her. There's been a lot of training and knowledge transfer, and one of the things we're now figuring out is how to transition that process of making all the e-NABLE kits because that's something she used to do.
Mm.
So we're changing how we're doing that. I'm going to have somebody else take that over. We're going to be having those, I think, fulfilled out of our warehouse instead of shipping them here from our home as we have all these years. So that's all in the works, but I will make sure that those kits are still available. We also are in the process of transitioning all of our filaments. My line of 3D Universe filaments, which included those custom skin tone colors in PETG, my filament manufacturer is notified that they're getting out of the business. So I'm transitioning to a different supplier and we'll still have skin tone colors in PETG, but there's going to be this transition period coming. Anyway, that's all stuff that's all part of the reason that I need to kind of shift my focus right now. But yes, I do intend that those kits and those skin tone materials will still be available. And we will always do our best to support the e-NABLE community. And by the way, I wanted to mention this time because I haven't in a while. One of the things that we offer through 3D Universe is an e-NABLE Give a Hand kit, which is people can actually donate e-NABLE kits. They can buy them without receiving a kit. They go into a pool, and we do still maintain that. Those are intended for schools primarily, but we do have a balance of donated kits available. And so I just want to put a reminder out there that any schools that want to get a program going and they need, 10 or 20 e-NABLE kits, we can send those free of charge because of those kits that have been donated.
And just to be clear, those kits are all of the screws and strings and padding and things
Correct.
that uh, are the remaining bill of materials for an enabled device that
That
is
is
3D
correct.
printed.
Yeah, they're suitable for the various Phoenix models as well. They also work for the Kinetic Hand. And probably some others too, because there's an assortment of different materials and screw sizes in there.
Good. Okay.
Okay, let's take a look at some of these hub posts and then I will have to take my leave. Just adjust my windows here. Okay, so first one is from Madison, inviting people to attend the 2025 Move United Education Conference. Okay, Move United, national leader in adaptive sports and recreation. They're hosting their conference from May 5th through 7th in Park City, Utah. Pre-conference workshops May 3rd to 5th, bringing together professionals, athletes with disabilities, and organizations dedicated to making
Hmm.
sports more inclusive. That definitely sounds like a great opportunity for our volunteers. Okay. I'm not seeing any comments yet, which is a little surprising. I would suggest that we boost visibility to this. Maybe just commenting it on it would bounce it to the top of the stream, so maybe more people see it. Because of this,
Right.
yeah, I definitely.
Furthermore, I would suggest that we use the map to identify recent chapters in that region and call it to their attention.
Maybe
And when
put
I
it
say we, I imagine that would be
on,
you, Sarah.
and
I
maybe put it on the calendar too.
yes, I was just gonna say I'll put it on the calendar for May.
Okay,
Excellent.
great. And
And I
thank
don't
you,
know,
Madison, for flagging that.
I don't know. Let me look real quick at this link because I'm wondering if there is a registration deadline. It might be good to put the registration deadline on the calendar too. I'm not seeing anything at a glance. No, it wants me to sign in. Okay. Well, maybe poke around and see if you can find a registration deadline just to
Right.
put that on the calendar to let people know that
Well, I
they
mean, the registration deadline is, if there is, it's probably in April. And the April calendar and newsletter is already published.
okay.
So I
Uh,
mean, I can ask
well,
Madison to.
I see there are some fees for registration and those
Mm,
fees go up after, well, we're already past March 28th, so
yeah.
that's, I guess, a moot point.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay. I'll leave it in your capable
So,
hands, Sarah.
um, if there were an experienced e-NABLE volunteer who wanted to go to that event, I would be interested in them stepping up and identifying themselves, and in a future town hall meeting, if we thought that they were good candidates, we could certainly vote to cover
Yep.
um, the registration fee.
I think that would be a great idea,
I
especially just,
don't think we could pay for Madison to go to take the trip, but if there's a regional member who is interested, I would love to hear about it.
I agree. As long as they're willing to report back, I think that would be well
Yes.
worthwhile. Okay. Let's move on to this one from Ghislaine.
So this is an old comment, and there's a lot of
A
debate
lot of
about
conversation.
age of um, devices. So I wanted to just see if we wanted to give a thoughtful answer about why e-NABLE doesn't generally make prosthetic devices for
But it
uh,
looks like it's
It looks like
young
there's
children.
already some very thoughtful answers here.
Um, there also there are a lot of answers in favor of making prosthetics for younger children. So I wanted to know if we wanted to
okay.
talk about why
I will
enable.
weigh in on this, and I'll
Yeah,
point out that there uh, are soft prosthetics made of foam. Very interesting that I've seen from a Belgian prosthetist, which will even work on tiny babies. I think
yeah.
they're mostly just cuteness, but they're not going to do any harm, and it's worth considering.
Well, and to
And
me, I would just add, I think the key point here, despite all this discussion here, I think we need to keep in mind that at the end of the day, we are all volunteers. We don't know what the hell we're doing, right? We are not medical professionals. When we tell people you should do this or you shouldn't do this or this is or isn't appropriate, all we're doing is echoing things that we've heard from medical professionals. But that doesn't mean that that advice is applicable in all circumstances. So I think the most important advice is if you have somebody that's on the younger side that you're considering a device for, make sure that you are plugged in with a medical professional and get their advice, because it's always going to be case specific. And if that professional sees this child and sees what the exact condition is, they can advise what might or might not be appropriate much better than any of us as volunteers can.
I think you've just done a great job of giving the official statement. The other thing I would add is that the prosthetists point out, and I don't see it in the thread, that bone develops during those ages, and that mechanical devices that put unnatural stresses on the bones would produce unnatural patterns of bone development, which we don't want to be responsible for. So that's the other reason for the lower age limit. And Sarah, if you would just capture from the transcript Jeremy's comments and my comments and put them at the end of this, our work is done and yours isn't.
Okay. And then we have one from Josephine. And this looks like it's another one that already has some discussion. Josephine is looking to apply someone to our program to get an arm. They have a stub. It was amputated near the elbow. They're now in their early 70s. Became a widow when their children were young, been a farmer and hunter most of his life. Now he cannot even shower. Interesting. Can't get help from PSWs that are on the poverty line, and Canada doesn't have much help available for him. Cannot cut his toenails, I assume, on his own and clean properly, so he's even lost toes over all this. Huh, okay. I guess I'm a little bit surprised by the idea that somebody missing one arm would not be able to shower. I would think they could use the other arm. I'm not seeing anything here indicating that both arms are missing.
He's depressed, losing weight, lifestyle hard. So
Yeah.
this sounds like a difficult case, but I also
Yeah.
see that it's apparently in Uganda. Um,
Above the elbow, by the way. That's an important clarification. Ontario, Canada is the location.
oh, so someone said it's a part of the Uganda project. We're going to have a meeting coming up soon about the Uganda project, which is developing, but is okay.
Okay, somebody invited her to go to the hub and request a device.
Uh-oh, Gary is pointing to the NIOP catalog.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would not recommend that.
Yeah. Um, that new kinetic arm, isn't that for that would work for a just above the elbow amputate, or just above, yeah, just above the elbow. That would work, wouldn't it? I can't remember. Is that one for above or below elbow?
I think it's below, but it's
Okay, so maybe not.
okay. This one
Um,
needs attention.
yeah.
Um, Sarah, will you? Well, I mean, I'm capturing it right now and putting it in my must follow up on list. And Sarah, you should keep me honest here.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, John. So the rest of these posts that Sarah shared
Um,
are
well,
probably,
so one of them, I know Gary. I don't know why he just posted. I don't know if that was a mistake. It was just that's I don't
Mm.
okay.
understand.
Nothing comment.
Um, and then the rest, it kind of like looked like that one was the only one where they mentioned 3D printing. So I was like, okay, let us know if you. But the rest were just they didn't say anything about. It was just like
Maybe they're just being cute. I mean, they're probably
I.
just doing their introduction, to get their
I have
badge.
a feeling this is a
But that's not. I wouldn't give someone a bad badge for that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
I,
I didn't get it. Maybe I have no humor, but I didn't.
I
my
no,
guess is that there's an elementary school class that has been everyone required to register on the e-NABLE hub,
Okay.
and
and
that's
maybe the
what's going
teacher
on
said,
here.
share something about yourself, and they all decided to
Okay.
share their favorite color. That
So
I
So
yeah, I
so
don't
you think
know.
these are like really, really young children? I don't.
Well, so
Okay.
send the
This
same
one
note
likes
to
Animal
all of
Crossing.
us.
All right, so we won't
Okay.
really know until, I guess we can say to Jonathan, maybe, keep an eye out to see if these same people request the badge for, introduced self in the Enable Hub.
Okay.
Well, and put a comment after each of them that reads approximately, uh, you all are, we've got 5 posts on the hub today, telling us about their favorite color.
Or
Where are you coming from and what inspires this?
Okay.
And then we'll find out.
yeah,
There may be a teacher who's doing something useful, but we need to know. And if we don't get a response, then we delete them.
Okay.
and as far as Gary's, I suspect he was trying to tag Nate and forgot the @ symbol. He was
Right.
probably trying to tag him on that discussion about the NIOP. That would be my guess. But I don't know that Nate has been involved in quite some time. So that's what we have for posts. And I think I'm going to need to take my leave at this point. I did note the current Enable balance, which is still a healthy, the fund balance was a healthy $77,891. And I think there'll be some more discussion about using that in part for a paid role to do some of the things we'll talk about next time. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to you, John. Let me make you host
Okay.
here.
I'm just confirming that I have access to this same um, Enable Town Hall directory here that you're using in Workflowy. I
Let
think
me
it's shared with me.
make sure it is.
Oh, can you
It
send it to
is.
me as well? Because um I have had some
Sure.
problems with the link. That's why I've been emailing the hub posts. So
Yeah, you both are in here under so Sarah, you have access under Sarah at enable.org. John, you have access under jschull@gmail.com.
I do
Um,
indeed. And here's a web link that you can use, Sarah, as well.
yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly. Okay. So you guys should be all set. Let me know if you need anything else, and I will see you all soon.
Okay. Jeremy, thanks and congratulations.
Thank you all.
And I mean both of those with great big colorful letters.
Thank you. I'm sure I will be seeing you all again soon. Bye for now.
Bye for now. Okay. It's 11:30. Um, and suddenly the torch has been passed. I am opening this, which we just discussed, share my screen. And here is the Enable Fund balance. Do you want to talk about upcoming events, Sarah?
sure. I mean the April calendar um just went out yesterday. We have an education and new members meeting coming up on Wednesday, the 16th, and another town hall on Friday, the 18th. Um, and following the town hall, a bionic design meeting, and we have a special presentation on a new motorized version of the kinetic hand called Kinetics. And that was made by Javier from e-NABLE France, and he'll be presenting on that right after the town hall on the 18th. And then on the 21st, on Monday, we have a chapter leaders meeting, and there is no healthcare meeting this month.
Okay, that's great. The Bionic presentation should be quite interesting. We're also going to have Majar, who has developed his own motorized hand, a completely new and somewhat radical uh, design, but there are now 2 pretty robust looking motorized hands that people will be may be interested in. So that's on the 18th of April. Uh, okay. Education on the 16th. That's Ian Roy's group. And good. I'm just going now through the list of topics we have often looked at because I'm not sure that we have anything else we need to talk about right now. You say there's no health this month, but health is an
No.
ongoing thing that Tainara does, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. I want to open the floor to regular discussion, including the conversation that we have begun about how to handle these going forward. Jonathan is still with us here.
Yeah, I
Sarah
mean,
is here.
I think um just including um town hall and leadership discussion and a hub posts with the themed community meetings is a great idea, but I don't think it's possible to make those happen every Friday at the same time.
Well,
Um,
can you reach out or draft for me an email that will go to Ian and Vivek and Tainara? And we'll just ask them specifically if they could possibly reserve one 11 to 12:30 slot per month for this purpose.
I also think I mean I think 11 to 12 would be fine. I think 11 to 12:30 is asking for a lot from people
Okay, so that's fine.
to
So
stay
what we
on
might do
Zoom.
then is use the half hour from uh, 12 to 12:30 for town hall and hub, etc., and they'd be free to absent themselves.
Okay.
But I agree, Jeremy. I think a weekly rhythm is a good idea, and uh, I don't know that it's necessary to have these satellite meetings the way we have been doing. And I would then be able to attend all of them unless I couldn't make a Friday. But I'm now committing to trying to do every Friday, as I have done in the past and will do in the future. And I believe I could call on Jonathan, perhaps Sarah, perhaps Ian, to take my place if I couldn't make it. That's the way I'm thinking about this.
Okay. Yeah, I can uh do you want me to just email everyone and include you on that email, or do you want the email to come from you?
No, you can CC me,
Okay.
and give them a little bit of background on
Okay.
Jeremy's retirement, which is now official and explicit, and my willingness to take the helm of the town hall meetings, and this new design, which will make them more central to the week by week functioning of the organization. And let's see if we can make it work.
Okay. Um, and would that could the town hall rotation also include chapter leaders when that
Yes, absolutely. That's the
okay,
fourth
yeah,
one I was looking for.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's
Um,
likely to be a 4-week rotation. I suppose February may be challenging, but we can figure that out.
so chapter leaders would then move to Friday. You want everything to be on Fridays.
Yeah,
Or
everything Friday from 11 to 12 with an extra 30 minutes for hub review
okay,
and other administrative topics.
okay. Would you be okay with a different day? Because I know Hainara is now doing Thursdays and Ian has also asked for a lot of middle of the week days. So does it
Well,
have
let
to
me
be
see.
Friday?
My Thursdays, you'd think I'd remember yesterday. Um,
And it might
I
it
would
might
have to.
also
Hmm?
sorry, I'm sorry. I just it might also help with general attendance because we've had a lot of meetings on Fridays, and I think for a lot of people, um Fridays are their weekend is starting. If they're starting their weekend a day early, they're not gonna, come to a
And that applies to me
meeting.
also. So I think that's
So,
as you know, I'm often in the car on a Friday. So I think that's a great idea. Let's aim for Wednesday, which is quite
okay,
open for me.
okay, okay, great.
Jonathan, does that work for you?
Yep. Wednesday should work just fine for me.
That's fantastic. Okay. Okay. Uh, Anything else on that topic?
Yeah.
I can report that I actually, independent of Jeremy's transition, I've been getting vibes of sort of an e-NABLE renaissance. We will be covering this in the chapter leaders meeting, which I have just been reminded is on the 21st, when we will have, I believe, the Sarasota e-NABLE chapter, who are also a FIRST Robotics chapter, who are doing extraordinary good work advancing the gripper hand, attaching it to an arm, and coordinating with a group in Uganda that has got quite a bit of quite a long list of people who are in need, and a good director and an organization with contacts in the hospitals. So I'm very excited about that group. And there is another group at Virginia Tech that's doing really interesting work and who I've connected to the Uganda group. And they both have got, I think, real organizational strengths, as well, that is administrative and coordinating strengths, as well as technical expertise. And with two young and vibrant chapters hitting on all cylinders and creating a pipeline to people in need in Uganda, I think we may be able to put together a program that will allow other e-NABLE volunteers saying, I want to make a hand for somebody, to become part of what is currently known as the Uganda Project and have an outlet. The Vermont group is also doing assistive technology work. So, if you put those together, we could imagine an initiative to make it really clear that we do assistive devices as well as prosthetic devices, that we have pipelines to people in need connected with medical professionals in a location, namely Uganda. We would probably have to pay for periodic bulk shipments, but we can do that because we have some money in the bank, and we could grow a program from there. The other thing, I'll pause for a moment to see if there are any comments, questions, or suggestions about that. So that's going to be surfacing in the next few weeks. And I also wanted to say that I think we're going to retire the hub, as has been the plan. And Sarah, in a recent conversation, you and I agreed that we were going to try to develop a process for ongoing monitoring of cases on the hub, just in order to be able to systematically look over the shoulder of queries that come into the hub, to provide advice and to pick up the ball if it turns out a case peters out in an uncontrolled fashion. And we imagine that that is going to be the new regime, not a automated e-NABLE hub, which never really took on, but we will be encouraging people to use the hub as a open marketplace, but with our systematic supervision and result tracking, follow-up tracking. So that also has been cooking, and this, I think, is an opportunity to try to develop that into a more systematic process.
Yeah, I sent you the Google Doc with the different categories. Did you have a chance to
I
look
did
at that?
not. That's where we have town hall meetings. Why don't we open
I
it? Can you give us
I
a
also
link?
just I also just wanted to clarify, what do you mean when you say retire the hub? Because the hub is where,
Did I say retire the hub? I
yeah.
meant retire the enable matching platform.
Okay, okay.
Don't panic. Can you share that document? I'm looking for it also. You're looking for it too, right?
Yep.
Have you prototyped the tracking system? And then she says, yes, and here it is. And what I clicked on was a spreadsheet with column heads. Is that what I'm looking for?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sharing it in all its glory. Okay. So the notion is that someone, and Sarah, I believe you thought you could do this as part of your hub scanning activity,
Yes.
is to just making some more read. Beep, 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 beep. Okay.
Uh,
When Sarah finds a case on the hub, like for example, the 3-year-old we just saw, she will create a case number, a recipient name, recipient email. Okay, so these are things that we don't have yet, but she will seek them. So I think we want URL reference, which in this case would be a link to the hub post where we became aware of it. Right now, these would be blank. We might well get this. We did. It was Ontario. Volunteer name, we can get that. Volunteer email, that is available uh, from the hub database. If you click on that person's face, I believe we can find their email. Volunteer phone, volunteer location, chapter, if any, match date. Well, this will take some we'll have to think about how to do this, because this is going to be an ongoing process that we want to monitor. And then there
I
are
just
delivery
like
date and
we could
follow-up
change
notes.
the just we should have some measure of like how long it's taking, when did it start, and
That's right.
if they were matched with someone 6 months ago but nothing has happened, then it's time to find them someone different, kind of thing.
That's right.
So
That's right.
if you want to like
And
call it something else, or
yeah. We'll
um
work on this. I will probably make an Airtable for you that will have some additional utility for this purpose. And but I do think last sign of life is going to be one of the most important. In fact, I'm going to put that one all the way on the left, because what we're going to do eventually is have a method by which, if there's not been a sign of life within some amount of time, it's our job to ping them, log the fact that we have pinged them. Last query. And that way we'll be able to keep on sorting this just to make sure that cases don't just fall to the bottom of the ocean. Okay, this is very helpful. Jonathan, do you see anything else that should
and
be?
there's at the end for delivery date and follow-up notes. I don't know if you want to be any more specific about how it's not okay to just deliver a device and then close it because the device might not work. You want to follow up later and
Right.
make sure that it's actually helping.
Um, Delivery date. delivery notes.
What is this? First of all, history of interactions and delivery date has the same, is in the same box. And what do
No,
you
they're not.
mean by history, or, oh, it's not, okay, what do you mean by history of interactions? I don't.
I actually think that there's likely to be for each case a bunch of hub posts and perhaps some emails. And this is a placeholder to tell me that I'd like to find a way of aggregating them as they happen.
Okay, and the follow-up notes doesn't,
That means
should that
after the
replace?
post-delivery notes,
Okay,
post-delivery follow-ups.
okay.
And then, of course, what we don't have here is device, developed, kinetic, or this, that, or the other. Okay. So this isn't complete, but imagining that it was complete. Well, as a matter of fact, Sarah, what you can do just to prototype the process now is to go back through the last few months and fill in rows as well as you can. And then we'll take another look at it, and I'm sure we'll revise anything, but it's a good way to begin. Do you agree?
Sure, yeah, I mean, I don't want to go through several months and then have a lot of revisions so that I have to go back through the same
Sure. How
cases.
about
So,
trying to give us five rows of data, just the top five?
okay.
You go back to however far you need to do in order to get 5 cases that we can look at. And I'm not pretending that you can fill in everything. I'm
Okay.
saying see what you can fill in, and that will just give us some guidance about what it is we're going to try to build.
Okay.
Jonathan, does this vision of a user-driven, but I don't know how to say this, staff-monitored matching process make sense to you?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think it might be tough having so much data on one page, but I think it's also important to have it all in one place as well.
Are you
I
familiar
think
with Airtable, Jonathan?
I am not.
Let me, Sarah, I think you are, but I'm going to just show you.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so this is where I'm living these days. So it looks like a spreadsheet, but in fact, there are many different views of the spreadsheet. So I'll show you what the raw data looks like. Sorry. Click. Nope, sorry. Here. A second here. Okay, I'm going to make a new grid called everything. And there you go. So talk about a lot of columns. You can see that there are a lot of columns, and that's not really manageable. But as you have just seen, what you can do is look
I
at an
see,
individual.
are you hoping that you're not, we can't see anything that you're.
I'm sorry, I thought I was sharing my screen, but all you missed was a bunch of flailing. So now I will just give you an introduction to Airtable. Click, 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 click. Okay. So here you see something that looks like a big spreadsheet with tabs. Yes? Big spreadsheet and tabs that cover different topics. But the difference between this and a spreadsheet is, first of all, you have different views. You can, for example, look at it this way, and you can zoom in on a particular person, and then you see all the data for that person, which is a partial answer to Jonathan's question. And you can do a number of things with it, including track things with timelines and so on. So it's not much more complicated than a spreadsheet initially, but it will allow us to collect this data in a more systematic fashion. And we'll prototype with the spreadsheet, but my real point is have no fear, Jonathan. By the time we figure it out, we won't be restricting ourselves to what you can do with a single rectangular spreadsheet.
Sounds good to me. I'm invested.
Okay, cool. Okay. Well, we have a plan. We have a set of visions for what we might do going forward. We will use our weekly town hall half hour to advance these topics. And I think it's quite possible that some of the half hours will expand into some of the earlier hour, if that goes short, assuming we can get people to go along. And I think it's looking good.
If you're moderating, that would also require you to be there at the earlier hour and not
right. And you're going to have
starting
to.
at 12.
That's right. So you're going to have to rope me in because today, for example, I had a meeting that was supposed to be over at 10:30, but went on until 11:01. So you're going to have to phone me if you think I'm in danger of not getting there. And I do want to say that while I am actually enthusiastic about keeping this going, I am even more enthusiastic about cultivating new leaders who can be guest moderators and who can eventually allow me to step back, as Jeremy has stepped back, confident that things will stay in relatively good shape. So I know Sarah is not hugely comfortable in that role, but Jonathan, you are now becoming an old timer and a staple, and you usually hide behind the scenes. But to the extent that you're willing to step up, I'm eager to discuss that with you.
Sounds good. I'm happy to have it.
That's great. Okay. And so I'm going to put my here's how to make a meeting with me link in the chat, but you can also just email me with some proposed times. Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing you next week and every week. And once again, I do want to just say thanks and congratulations to Jeremy, who has done an extraordinary amount of work and done it in the nicest imaginable way, considering how much shit work he had to do to keep it going. And on that fragrant note, I will say goodbye to everybody. Goodbye.
We'll see you
Bye.
guys soon.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.